Hello and welcome back to Why Won't No One Date These Guys with Naomi Guy and sadly not Joel Guy. This is our first episode back since I got back from Peru, so that kind of sucks that we're not recording with Joel, but hey. Len over there in the corner. Len, would you like to introduce yourself yet again?
Hi, my name is Len.
You know they can't see you, right?
I did just wave. Hi, my name is Len. I am dating Naomi. I've been on the podcast a couple of times now.
I want to say that Max was in town, someone that we will not specify our relationship to because for his privacy, but eventually he'll be on the podcast. He was referring to you as Lem all weekend, as in lemon. And so when we were playing pool with him, I was like, you know his name isn't Lemon, right? And I had to explain that your name was Leonard and not...
Why?
Isn't that awful, though? He thought it was
If you call me Leonard again, I'm going to The Voice.
No, please don't go to The Voice. Okay, so let's get started. We have a limoncello LaCroix today, and I'm going to act like I haven't already had this before, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's pretty spot on.
Carbonated lemon cake. That's what I described it as. I recommend it. I
would too.
I got a case from Costco yesterday, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do the smart thing and drink the worst flavor first. But then it happened to be a really good flavor, and I was like, damn, LaCroix went off. I always, described LaCroix as, you put a lemon in carbonated water, you dip it in, and then you take it out, and that's what lemon and LaCroix tastes like. But this one actually tastes pretty good.
That's what everyone says. And so I think they've just been stepping up their shit.
It's kind of like low sodium or no sodium chicken broth. It just feels like a chicken just dipped its butt in water and they called it chicken broth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're trying. I get the essence of what you're trying to say.
So now that we're 2 minutes in, I'd love to introduce the subject that we're talking about today. And the reason why I have Lemon here with me today is because we're going to chat about boundaries in relationships. Because I feel like you and I have really just...
Been killing the fucking game.
Been killing the game.
Yeah, we have.
Killing the game.
I've been good at it.
So that's why Joel isn't here today. It's also because Len and I have decided we've made the adult decision to move in together, which I think that both of us are scared about, but we're also excited for. It's gonna be nice to share space with the person that you are involved with, but it's also really scary at the same time. So I'm gonna we're just gonna have an open conversation and really just chat about what's been going on in our lives, what's to come. Obviously I went to Peru. I was gone for 3 weeks.
3 weeks of hell.
I think that we handled it really well though.
I think we did. I think
it wasn't I needed to be home, and it wasn't you were begging me to come home, buying me a plane ticket home. It was we had good communication. We were it's only 3 weeks that you're gonna be gone, it's gonna be good. And then I came back and it was fine. It wasn't awkward when we got back.
No, not at all.
I've been in situations where people would come back after an extended period of time and I feel I didn't even know them anymore. So
yeah. No, I think we did handle it really well. I did miss the fucking crap out of you because...
Well, yeah, that's kind of a given in a relationship.
Yeah, but it was manageable for sure. I just did a lot more busy work throughout the time when I didn't have you to keep myself busy, so I wasn't sad.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, we handled it great. I think we're just killing the relationship game, honestly.
I was in Peru, and one of the girls that I was with had a very strange relationship with our tour guide, and it got to the point where he was overstepping his boundaries as a tour guide, but also he was disrespecting her relationship. And Len and I have reflected back on this a lot, and just the fact that I think that everyone can kind of say you're not, there's different rules, but kind of just different ways that people do relationships. But one general rule, if you want to keep the relationship alive, is to not surround yourself with people that disrespect the person that you're in a relationship with.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that that was something that I witnessed that I was oh my god, this is not okay. And it wasn't that she was necessarily feeding into it. It was just he continuously was bombarding her. So, explain your thoughts on this.
I mean, I agree. I think you're able to have people in your life of the opposite sex. You're able to have people in your life that once had a crush on you or something like that, but it all, like you said, comes down to that base level of if they're not going to respect the boundaries that you set up and the boundaries of your relationship that you're currently in, and you're going to disrespect that constantly and keep overstepping your bounds, then I think it's an issue because if they overstep their bounds, it could lead to a number of different things that could be really, really bad.
I think that the main thing that was, like, driving it home was just the fact that, like, she had a conversation with the tour guide and she was like, hey, this is disrespectful, this is disrespecting my relationship, and he continued to do it. So it was, like, an issue of, like, are you going to are you going to continue to have the same conversation over and over again, or are you just going to, like, stop talking to that person? Because I think that in many situations that we've encountered, it's just been like, okay, this person's being an issue, we'll just block them. Yeah. Because, like, it wasn't a close relationship. Like, yeah. I understand, like, it is our tour guide in Peru, and, like, he was with us 24/7.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more difficult to, like, keep that distance that you would need if
and I think it was just because, like, he thought that it was more of an invitation because we were going and being in unprofessional settings with him. Like, we were going clubbing with him and we were going to bars with him, but at the same time it was like we needed him to, like, show us around. It wasn't just like, oh, well, we'll invite you because you're one of our friends kind of thing. Yeah. So I think that was also a thing that, like,
I can agree. Like, I wasn't in Peru, so I don't know the intricacies of how that all worked, but I definitely think that he could have looked at it from that angle where it was like, oh, we're going to a club together. Why not? You know, kind of like stuff like that.
Because he specifically said, like, oh, because this girl was 19 and she has been with her boyfriend for a really long time, and he was like, oh, well, relationships between, like, 18 and 25 don't last, like,
my ass, look at me and you.
You gotta listen to what I'm saying. You gotta listen to what he said. He was like, relationships between 20 and 25 don't last. You'll end up breaking up. You might as well cheat. What happens in Cusco, Peru stays in Cusco, Peru. And it was just, like, comments like that were just, like, so gross. Because he's, like, 10 years older than this girl. And I was Lordy. Like, yeah, it was just not cute. But I wanted to talk about this because I saw a TikTok yesterday that was, like, talking about, I know. It was talking about, like, boundaries in this woman's, like, Christian relationship. Or Christian marriage. And I wanted to talk about them with you.
Do you have them written down?
Or no, I just remember them off the top of my head.
Jeez, look,
she was like,
memory.
I know. She basically was like, okay, well, we started the marriage and we made ground rules that were just, like,
was it just straight to marriage?
It was just, no. They had a relationship before, but this was, like, their marriage, like rules, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was, yeah, I know. Okay, so their marriage rules, and not all of these have to do with boundaries, but, like, one of them, the first one was that you can't talk, like, you can't text a person of the opposite sex without telling the other person. Like, every single time that you text a person of the opposite sex, you have to tell your spouse that you're doing it.
Does it count about your mom?
No, like, people that aren't in your family. So that's what I'm assuming, at least. It didn't say, like, except mom, wife, like, sister, you know what I mean? It didn't say stuff like that, but it was, like, it was kind of implied that, like, every single person, like, a female coworker, even if it was about work, you'd have to, like, I'd have to tell you, like, if I was talking to a female or a male coworker. But what if you're bisexual? Do you have to tell every single time that you're texting a person?
Yeah, like, how would I fall into that line? Like, what the fuck?
And then the second rule was, let me stop. What are your thoughts on that?
It's fucking stupid. I mean, what? Mm-hmm. Like,
that's basically like giving the person that you're involved with, like,
control,
free range into your phone, and it's like your phone is your own private, like, that's your property.
Yeah.
And it's a level of trust that you should have with your partner, that they're not going to like use their phone for bad.
Yeah. It's taking jealousy to a fucking weird level.
Cuz it's like it's not quite getting to the point where you like just go through your partner's phone.
It's pretty
much like on that level.
It's right, yeah, it's right there. Like I love you, but if I text Sasha, I'm not going to text you and be like, hey, by the way, I texted Sasha.
Well, I tell you that I'm talking to Sasha just because I think it's really cute that your friends reach out to me for homework help. Like I know
that
really
is
cute.
Adorable.
Yeah,
that did make me smile when you told me. That was like so cute.
No, but it's like a level of privacy that you should be able to have because it's like your own personal property.
Device,
and it's like your own personal thoughts and feelings. And it's like I'm not going to tell you every time I text my best friend Bianca, because it's like, what if I just have thoughts that I don't want to share with you, but I want to share with her?
I mean, I assume so.
But it's just like that. I just found that really gross. And then the second rule was that you couldn't be alone in the same room, or like you spend like time with a person alone of the opposite sex. So in our case, if we had the same rule, it'd have to be everyone. You couldn't spend time with anyone alone except for like people that are in your family.
Yeah. Ew. Oh my god, it's just so controlling, and like you're so worried. They're so controlling. You have no trust over your other partner.
But they call it disrespectful to do so, and it's like, how is it disrespectful if you want to have relationships outside of your own? It's like it would be different if they were trying to have sexual relationships outside of their marriage. Yeah. But it's like they're just trying to have friendships outside of their marriage. Like you can't just have like your partner as your friend. You need a large group of people to surround, not a large group, but like people other than your partner to be your friend.
Yeah, because who do you think I go to for like help if I need to talk something through? I don't go to you. Like I do with some things, but some things I don't feel comfortable talking to you about, so I talk to someone else who has gone through issues like that with me in the past.
And that's your right to do that.
Exactly. And I would hope you would do the same.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think you can just rely on your partner for these things. Like
I wouldn't be able to talk to Joe. I wouldn't be able to talk to my therapist.
Oh my god.
With these rules, I wouldn't be able to talk to my therapist.
She's so threatening.
Oh. Hi, Joanne. I told her about the podcast. She knows.
Yes.
Hi, Joanne. Nice to talk to you. I miss you. I don't know her exact age, but I would say she was in her 60s.
Okay.
Roughly.
She's a very threatening woman.
Very threatening woman.
Yeah.
She really, really just is going for the ham. Going for the sweet honey ham.
Sweet honey ham.
But like in these rules, I wouldn't be able to. Since I'm able to text my therapist, I wouldn't be able to text my therapist without telling you that I'm texting my therapist. I'm not going to tell you what I'm telling my therapist. Yeah. That's between me and my therapist.
Exactly, and you wouldn't ask me what I talk to about with my therapist. Like that's just unless I come to you and I'm like, hey, my therapist said it would be a good idea to have this conversation with you, or like you want to expand on the conversation, you want to open up the conversation. So the third rule...
There's fucking more?
Yes! The third rule is to not hang around people that disrespect your partner. Like, either verbally, emotionally, physically. So it's like...
That one's respectable.
That one I understand. Because, like, I've been in situations in my past relationships where, like, men have kept friends around that have, like, openly disrespected me. And it's like, that's disgusting. Because... if you're going to say like, oh, this is my partner and I want to be with them for a long time, you should act like this, like that person you want that person in your life for a long time. Or you should say like, hey, bro, that's my partner, that's my girlfriend, shut the fuck up.
How is that so difficult? I love you, I'm not saying this in any way disrespect. I dropped a friend of like 5 years in the fucking as soon as I could because she was being disrespectful.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. That's something that I've not thought about in a while.
Yeah, neither have I until you just said that. Like, I had a friend.
No, but that person was like, the way that you made it sound, it was like that person had been disrespectful to your relationships for a while, and had been disrespectful while you were in different relationships in your past too. And it wasn't like I had directly asked you to do it. It was a conversation that we had with you, a mutual friend that you guys both had, you and that friend that you blocked, and me.
Yeah.
It was me, you, and that friend. That we all had this conversation, and we all felt disrespected, and I never even met this girl that you like were friends with, and so all of us, like, we were all drunk at the time, but we were all complaining, and it was like,
I wasn't drunk yet.
I was
I got drunk later that night. I was not drunk yet.
Sorry. We were on our way to being drunk. And we were talking about it, and all of our stories led up to being disrespected or our relationships being disrespected. And so it was like just the common, like, it was just
a theme.
It was a theme, but it was also like just something that we all came to a conclusion about, was just the fact that this person was not good and didn't respect boundaries.
Of course, yeah.
And it wasn't like I had an issue with the relationship that you guys had. It was more of, I had an issue with the fact that she didn't respect boundaries, and that she was openly being like, oh, well, you should be with me instead of her.
Yeah. And that was fucking disgusting.
But it's the fact that she also did that in other relationships too that you had, and it was like, when is she ever going to stop? If you continuously say, I don't want to be with you, I'm literally with somebody else right now.
You think after a couple of years you get that through her head.
You think after a couple no's.
I mean,
and the fact that you kept going back. You think after a couple times of like going back to your hometown and not seeing her, that would be a message. Like, even when I wasn't with you,
I was hoping it would just die out on its own, because like
she really tried though.
She did. She gave it her all. And, like, I just wanted that relationship to die on its own, because, like, we had, like, a mutual... It was hard to let her go just because of a mutual friend who passed away between us, who we were both really close with. So it felt like it was, like, one of my last connections I had to him. And so it was really difficult for me to do that, just because I didn't want to, like, feel like I was responsible for ending it.
Yeah.
Just because it was like one of the last connections, like human connections I had outside of like his family, his like immediate family.
Yeah.
And so I was struggling with that. Well, I'm stuck with that little fucking monster.
She's cute.
She's cute, but she's a monster. She sheds like a bitch.
I know, I'm allergic to her.
I know, you're so allergic to her. But so it was really difficult for me to like do it. So I was just trying, I didn't want to like say it. I didn't want to like have to have that conversation where I was like, hey, we need to stop talking. Like, I don't feel comfortable with what you've been doing. I don't feel comfortable with this. And I was kind of just hoping the relationship would just die.
Yeah.
Like, it would do like enough, no contact, enough to anything where you guys just drift apart.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to happen. Had to have those uncomfortable conversations that I just didn't want to have, just because I felt like I was ruining the
But you did it.
I did. And it was because I wanted to for a while, just because I'm tired of me and my relationships getting disrespected.
Which I really appreciate you doing. I would like to say, not to make this about me, but I'm making it about me.
Go ahead.
I feel as if, like, the conversations that we had leading up to you, like, ending that friendship, were constructive in the sense that, like, we figured out our boundaries.
Yeah.
And we also figured out, like, the fact that she was being disrespectful. Because I think that you kind of just let it happen and you didn't, like, understand what was actually going on. And until I sat down with you and Sasha and we had that conversation, from, like, me being a person that I tried to take myself out of that situation and be, like, a third party, like, a therapist, like, hey, how does this make you feel? Hey, from a third party, I don't think this is okay.
I don't know if therapists are allowed to drink on the job.
I don't think I was drinking that night.
That was at Obi Noodle House. Yeah, you were.
No, that was at THC, and I stopped drinking after the cantaloupe sake. The cantaloupe sake!
Oh, we gotta go to Obi Noodle House.
Yes.
Oof.
But, yeah, it was just like, I try to take myself out of those situations, and I think that that's good in other relationships, just to, like, if you have a sticky situation like that, take yourself out of it and think of it as from a third party perspective, because it's like, if you had a friend that you witnessed this happening to, how would you feel about that? And you'd be like, would you think, oh, that's disrespecting the relationship that they're in?
Yeah.
And I think that was helpful, because like in the past I just get really personal about it, and I'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna be really protective of my relationship, and I'm not going to allow this to happen, and I'm going to fight for it. But instead, I was like, okay, it's going to take its course. We're going to, like, slowly talk about this. And it wasn't like she was upfront consistently texting you, so that was also easier, because there wasn't, like, a time crunch kind of thing. Yeah. But, I don't know. I think that it really helped our relationship because of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not saying that you need to have a situation like that in order to have these conversations.
Definitely not. I mean, these
partner.
Conversations are important to have in general. Because we did have talks like this in the before this as well, that helped give us more like kind of like a stepping stone to it.
Yeah.
It's just this kind of really cemented it into where I was able to see what it was doing.
And I think that it was also that we had these conversations because both of us have been cheated on in the past. So it's like, okay, how would you feel in my position, and how would I feel in your position? And so, yeah. Those types of conversations. What kind of boundaries do you appreciate that we have?
I love the trust that we have. I love how we are able to just... Because at first it was tough because our relationships fucking sucked. And
our past relationships, yes.
And trust didn't come easy, but I'm happy that, like, pretty much from the beginning, we kind of just gave each other a blank slate.
Yeah.
And we're able to just, like, fully like throw into each other and trusting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helped a lot and having little to no jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're able to know that, like, this is my partner, we respect each other's boundaries, we respect that and we know that, like, we could put that trust that's not ill-placed. I think that's one of the major ones that I really, really appreciate.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people notice that too, because, like, we'll be with my friends or your friends, and we'll be like, oh, that girl's hot, together, and we'll check out somebody together, or, like, a man, or, like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's easier when both of you are bisexual.
Oh, of course.
But, or, like, interested in everybody. But, like, I think that also is helpful, because, like, people have commented on that to me personally, like, alone and also together. Like, we were at Cinco de Mayo with Zoe, and she was like, oh my god, I could never do that in a relationship, because, like, nobody ever wants to talk with me about that kind of thing.
I love ass. That's all I gotta say.
And it's like, I think that this is the first time that I've been able to be like, okay, this person, like, there's never been a question of, is this person going to be unfaithful? It's always just like, hey, I'm feeling a little triggered by what's going on, and then we talk it out.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh,
I don't trust this person
automatically. It's like, hey, this situation made me uncomfortable, it triggered me, here's why, and then we talk about it. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, how are we going to change and shift our behavior moving forward?
And how can we ensure that we don't make each other feel this way again? Yeah.
So I think that something that I really appreciate about our relationship, you didn't ask what I'm going to tell you.
Well, of course, I was assuming.
Is that, like, you, and I try to do the same, is that, like, when I bring up an issue, I don't have to bring up the same issue twice. I bring it up once, we talk about it, and then you change your behavior. So, or you're whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So I think that it's, like, very easy to have a good relationship with you, because I don't feel like and I think it's easy on both sides, because you don't feel like I'm nagging you, and I also don't feel like I'm nagging you, and I don't feel bad for, like, having, like, feelings about certain things. Yeah. Like, you've always validated my feelings.
Your feelings are valid. Duh.
I really want people to listen in on this episode and be like, wow, that seems so simple. How do I do that with my partner?
You gotta have a good partner. If your partner sucks, it's not gonna work. I'm sorry.
If your partner does not support Roe v. Wade, get the fuck out of there.
I got tear gassed.
Allegedly. You were allegedly at a protest. I love how there's silence.
Yeah, allegedly I did. Cops suck. ACAB.
Alleged. I'm just kidding.
ACAB. Roe v. Wade for the win. I have a list of all the Supreme Justices' IP addresses, allegedly.
Isn't that so scary? Gen Z is like such a scary generation, but I love it at the same time.
It's the best thing ever. Oh my god.
Because they're like, really, you're gonna fuck with our privacy, we're gonna fuck
with yours.
Yeah.
Get fucked, nerds.
So, anyways, I think that also something that I really appreciated about this generation and the decision, the Roe v. Wade decision, was that like all these men have been getting their women like sorry you got your rights taken away presents. Have you seen that? It's been all over my TikTok.
No, I've been seeing the like it's this audio and it's like, hi, my name, I forget the dude's name, but did you know you have rights? And my favorite one was it was this girl or person, I'm not going to assume their gender, but they were looking into the toilet and the caption was me looking at the suspicious blood clots and it was like, hey, do you know you have rights? It was just fucking hilarious.
I saw one that was like a girl, she was like, when you're waiting for a towel after he splooges on your stomach. Hey, did you know you have more rights than me?
Oh god, this generation fucking sucks.
Yeah. Anyways, so
what else was I thought I had something else to say. I forgot about it.
I'll talk at you for a while.
Cool, yes.
Until you like figure it out.
I might not, just in general.
Okay. What else? I think that another thing is just the fact that okay, go ahead.
I found it. Financial independence.
Holy
fucking shit.
Yeah. I think that was... Do you want to speak on, like, your past, or do you just want to drop that knowledge?
Fucking... My ex-fiancé, sadly, bled me fucking dry, money-wise, and I was fucking oblivious to it for the longest fucking time. And put me in a fucking huge wall of debt. My credit score got fucked. I got fucked in general just because...
You also moved into a very expensive apartment with her. Which I'm not saying is your fault. I'm just saying, like...
I'm a bougie bitch, what can I say? I more wanted that apartment than she did. I didn't want to pay for it all like I did. But yeah, I got bled fucking dry. And coming out of that, I was like... I needed someone who was able to be financially independent. Of course, I'm going to spend money on you just because I like getting you things. But it's not to the level where like I feel like
you need to pay my rent.
I need to pay everything
and buy my groceries.
Yeah.
And do my laundry and clean my house for me and.
Yeah, I'm cooking. Remember?
No, I think that you didn't necessarily put up those boundaries. That was just who I was as a person, where I was like, okay,
no,
it's
I
gonna
know.
be like every other, I'm gonna pay for a date and then you're gonna pay for a date and then we're just gonna go back and forth. And then there's been times where I'm like, okay, you can pay for this and then I'll just let it happen. But then there's some times where I'll like literally fight you at the cashier.
You
like,
literally have, yeah.
And I'll like get out my card and he'll get out his and then we'll have a little card fight. But I think that it's easier, like it's not always possible to be financially independent in a relationship.
Not 100%.
Especially in this day and age, in this economy. I think that it definitely is easier to like say, oh yeah, you have to be financially independent in relationships, but it's not always available.
And financial independence, I feel like, is different for every person.
Yeah.
Like what I think financial independence is could vary from some sugar daddy who's financially independent and wants to pay some young bimbo to be his little side piece.
Hey, are you being anti-woman right now?
No, 100%. I love bimbos. Bimbos are great.
So I think that leads us into our next subject, which is living together.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like we're moving in together in the next month, less than a month now.
Shit.
He's excited. It's just a lot of work to like move his cats, because like we have to like integrate the cats, and we also have to like move his stuff over to my house, and
it's just a lot in a short period of time that we weren't expecting.
Yeah, like we thought we had until September, and then like his lease ended, and he didn't know that his lease ended in June, and then like or in July, and so like it's like a big thing.
Yeah, so it caught me off guard. So it's not that I'm not excited. It's just It's just a lot to do in a short period of time.
So I'm going to throw out some tips that I think are helpful for people that are thinking about moving in together, and you throw out your tips, and we'll have a little chat about it.
Of course.
So my tips are you set up boundaries, and you either write them out or you have a verbal discussion about them before you move in together.
Yep.
Talk about budget.
Yep.
Obviously, I think you have to talk about budget for like things like rent and like utilities and stuff, but you don't always talk about like, okay, how much are we going to split the amount that I spent on toilet paper? Are we going to split like grocery bills, like stuff like that? And I think that that's really helpful.
We haven't even talked about
We haven't talked about that. I think it's just because I literally just got back from Peru.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion on that, is just right down the middle. Like, if it's in the house, I feel like it's free reign unless you purposely like, do not fucking eat these.
Which I should have done with my fucking pita bread when my brother was in town, and I should have written...
He ate all that shit?
Yes!
That fucking whore.
Hey, we love you, and we want you to come back. Just don't eat my fucking pizza next time. We love having you here.
Yeah, good time.
Good time.
Sorry, brother.
Good time. So, that... as well, that everyone has their own boundaries on that. So, like, some people are like, okay, I'll pay for the toilet paper if you pay for the paper towels. Or, like, or, like, you know what I mean?
So, discussions that come down to things like that.
Exactly. I think that another thing that you need to chat about with your partner is, okay, if you can afford the rent and I can't afford the rent, are you going to be paying more, or are we going to need to find a better place to live that doesn't involve so much rent?
Yeah.
So, in our case... Sorry, I needed a burp. In our case, we're going... clapping for me. We're renting a 3-bedroom house together, and we're, like, financially, like, he's making more money than me because he has a full-time job and I'm a student. So it's like, we've had this discussion and we figured out what we're going to do about it, and but we're also doing this. I bring up the fact that we're renting a 3-bedroom house because we decided that we need our own spaces. And I think that comes from me being an introverted person as well as an independent person. And I think that's the same for you, is that, like, I need my own space sometimes and he needs his own space sometimes. So it's like, we're both going to have our own spaces and we'll have common spaces to, like, hang out and chill.
Yeah.
So, and shared spaces, of course.
Yeah.
So it's like... I think you need to have that conversation, but I'm going to mention this again. It's not always possible in this economy to do that, and we're fortunate enough where we can do that. The thing is that I know a lot of people would love a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 room for them and 1 room for their partner, but that's not, in this economy, it's not possible. So,
at least in the area where we are.
That's very true, but I think the only place that you'd be able to do that is parts of the Midwest. And who wants... I'm just kidding. I have family in the Midwest.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with all those. I think those are all very important conversations that do need to come up and that do need to be discussed thoroughly.
Also, the fact that you need to figure out, okay, what happens if we do break up and we still are in a lease? Like, what's going to happen to our lease?
Nick and Jess,
our new girl, they did it best. What's going to happen if we break up in the middle of the lease? What's going to happen if something happens and like a tragedy occurs and your family isn't in the state? What happens if you need to go home? Like,
I go home.
Yeah, I know. You do go home.
I go. If the amount of times I've dropped everything to travel across state lines,
and I love you for it,
I will do it in a fucking heartbeat. Ugh.
So just conversations like that we think that need to be had
Definitely.
Before moving in together. And I think that, I hate to bring this up, but I think that when you move in and you U-Haul lesbian, not to be a lesbian hater, but I'm assuming this is a politically correct term at this point.
It is, actually. I saw a TikTok about it and they were
so TikTok is very, like, politically correct at this point.
Not always, but it was a lesbian talking about U-Haul lesbians on the first date, and so I was like, love her to death. So I think it's politically correct to say U-Haul lesbian.
You had a U-Haul lesbian situation with your ex-fiance, and she just kind of moved her stuff in after 2 weeks. To be fair, there was a pandemic, and that kind of shut everything down, and that was something that I guess you guys were both interested in, and I guess you at some point consented to. I'd hope you consented to.
Not really.
It. Okay, so maybe we should back that up, and I shouldn't tell this story, but I think that this is a good opportunity for both. It's a learning curve for both of us because this is a new type of moving in for you. Like, you've lived with a partner before, I have not.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a learning curve for both of us, is like learning those boundaries and being able to have those conversations.
No, it definitely is. It's definitely something I haven't been used to, but it's been very, very nice to be able to actually have these conversations.
Yeah. I think it's just hard for me because, like, we'll be having these conversations and I kind of get, like, a little triggered by them. And it's hard for me to understand how you don't get triggered by them.
I don't fucking know.
You're just like, I live my life.
Fuck it, we ball.
Basically.
Wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, fuck it, we ball, go through my day.
I think that the only thing that I have to do in this relationship to keep you happy is buy you chicken bakes on a regular basis.
Once a month, minimum.
So, I think that, yeah.
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 Once a month minimum. And some other things.
He's talking about I need to do his laundry. So, No, I think that we've also talked about, like, who's going to be doing what household-wise.
Yes, that's what I was going to get into.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, when you live with a partner, it's all the responsibilities of a house then get parceled between people. So, hopefully, they should.
Yeah.
My last relationship, they didn't. But that's kind of, like, the way me and Naomi have broken up is I love to cook. I'm a very good cook. So I'll be taking over the cooking responsibilities in the house, and she's a fucking clean freak. When I say clean freak, I fucking mean it. And so she will be taking over those responsibilities as mainly cleaning, and then everything else is kind of getting parceled up here and there. So laundry, she loves doing laundry too. It's weird.
I love doing laundry.
So she'll also be doing laundry, grocery shopping. We like grocery shopping together, so that'll be something that goes to both of us.
I thought it was so funny the first time we went grocery shopping together. We went to Trader Joe's together. That was so funny. And you were just like my little bitch carrying around my basket for me.
Fuck you.
And then we ran into one of your former coworkers. Melina?
Was it Melina? No, we ran into Melina at Low Key.
We also ran into Melina at Trader Joe's.
I feel like it was another one.
It was Melina.
It was a blonde bitch.
I think it was Melina and a blonde bitch. I specifically remember Melina.
Of course, we love Melina. Hi, Mom.
It was Melina. I'm just going to stick by that.
Alright, yeah, let's just go with Melina until I can remember who else it could have been.
So, yeah. Is there anything else you want to add to that conversation on moving in together?
No, I think you hit most of the points that I was going to want to make.
Okay.
Well, unless you want to talk like how you should talk about how your sex life could possibly change.
Yeah, I think that that's something that your partner and you have to figure out, though. It's a learning curve.
Yeah, it definitely is, because it's very different.
We're going to educate the masses here. There's been studies that have proven that when you move in with your partner, your sex life dramatically changes. So be aware of that. And make sure that you plan accordingly, because like if you guys are two very sexual people and you guys have a healthy sexual relationship when you aren't living together, there's the added, when you're not living together, there's this added sense of like, oh, like a mystery, like, oh, we could do it at any time, anywhere kind of thing. But when you're living together, it's kind of you don't have that mystery that keeps sex interesting, so you have to make sex more interesting in order to keep your sex life alive. And we're not saying this is everyone, but we're just talking about specific studies that have proven that this is a thing, and also friends that we know that live together.
Yeah. So it's just something you have to keep an eye out for and make sure that you and your partner communicate how you're feeling when it comes to your sexual drive, if you're sexually frustrated for some reason, or if you want to do something else to try and spice up that sad sex life. It really just comes down.
Sad sex life.
I don't know. I know some people who don't have a sex life, so.
Hey, we don't judge.
We don't judge. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of different ways it could happen, and so it's just, having that conversation, having an open line of communication available for sexual conversations that could be about anything. Not saying like to bring up about your partner, like example, like you're not happy with the amount of sex you guys are having and you're wanting more, being able to openly come to your partner and talk about what's been going on, if there's an issue, if there's a reason, or if it's just something.
Well, that's just having a sexy health life.
Healthy sex life.
Healthy sex life to begin with, and I think that you should make sure that you have a solid foundation before you decide to move in together. Both sexually and romantically. You want to add anything else to that, or can I change the subject?
You could change the subject. That's the last thing I need to say.
Okay. So, we've talked about living together. We talked about boundaries. Something that I really want to touch on is just the fact that I was reflecting back on this with my brother recently, and we were talking about like having autonomy in relationships. And I think that this is not something that I fully articulated before, but and this is me being extremely transparent, have not had full sexual autonomy in my past relationships. And I didn't even realize that it was happening until I got into a relationship with you. So, oh God.
Oh, they can't see me.
I'm giving him so much.
My ego is getting stroked.
No, and it's like, your ego shouldn't even have to get stroked. Like, you should be, like, really sad right now. I'm being honest.
It's fucking depressing as fuck.
But it's like...
Because I don't do anything special. Like, I just respect your boundaries.
Exactly.
And let you have your own sexual life. Like, it's not like I do anything specific to be, like, give you that autonomy. I just let you be your own fucking person. Yeah,
and I think that, like... something that not a lot of people understand is when you don't properly teach your children consent. And I'm not saying, okay, no means no. I'm saying no means no, and there should be no coercion to change that answer. Like, I think that a lot of people aren't fully taught consent, and that's what causes these types of feelings. So when I was learning, oh my God, I do have sexual autonomy over my body, it was more of like it wasn't like I've always realized that I should have sexual autonomy, and that's where I began the conversation of like, this is what I need in a relationship. It was more of like, it was trial and error until I found what I was most comfortable with. So I'm gonna be honest, it depends on the sexual relationship. Some people don't like having sexual autonomy. And some people, you have to admit it's true.
I know it's true.
So, like, it can be different for everyone. But I think that if you are in a relationship where someone is yelling at you for revoking your consent in the middle of sex and getting mad at you and not speaking to you for days at a time, that means that you don't have sexual autonomy. Yeah. If someone is trying to coerce you into having sex with them even after you've said no and said, I don't want to have sex with you today, you don't have sexual autonomy. It's realizing these things, and I think that this should be a given at this point, but it's not, because so many of the people that I know that come to me and ask me for advice, I'm like, you know that you got raped in that situation. Like, that is technically considered rape under the laws of rape. You know what I mean? Like, not even laws of rape, just like
they're very loose laws, sadly.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is, like, under the definition of rape,
yeah.
that is considered rape. So it's like, if we teach everyone consent, it would be a totally different world out there. But that goes along with boundaries. Like, yeah. You need to talk about your boundaries sexually, physically, like, everything like that. And that's another thing, is that, like, I get overstimulated sometimes when you touch me, and I'm like, hey, I'm like overstimulated right now. Can you just like put your hand over there, or like, can you like stop rubbing my back or something? And you're like, okay, sorry, and then we move on. Which, like, we had a conversation yesterday. I was like, you don't need to say sorry. Like, I'm trying to communicate. That's how I'm feeling.
No, and I know, and I always, like I said, I always just apologize, because I don't ever want to put you in a position where you feel like you are being overstimulated by me, and so I don't apologize for. Like, because I think I, like, hurt you. I'm apologizing because I just don't want to put you in that position, and it's more just me saying, okay, I understand, let me stop.
Yeah.
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 That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So we're trying to communicate is that we're the best couple ever. I'm just kidding. No, it's just, I think that we like to talk about boundaries a lot, and we try to communicate them with people that we know that are in relationships that struggle to communicate. And I think that maybe listening to it and not having it like a conversation back and forth with people that we know would be easier. Does that make sense?
No, you lost me there.
Okay, so like if a person comes to me and they're like, I'm struggling to like come up with boundaries with my partner and I, how do I talk about cheating with them? How do I tell them about this? It's easier sometimes to have them just listen to something instead of having a back and forth conversation.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Especially with the people that we know. I think you're just agreeing with me.
I am agreeing with you.
Yeah. Anyways, I know this is a little bit shorter of an episode, but sometimes that's okay.
That's all the points we wanted to make?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Perfect.
Anything you want to touch on before we end?
Fuck the Supreme Court, fuck this government, and take your hands off women's bodies.
Thank you. Have a great week, guys. Listen to that man over there.
We have many thanks for the use of our theme music, which is the song Drop by Ketsa. You can find more of their music online at ketsa.uk. You can also find Date These Guys online on Twitter and Instagram at Date These Guys, or visit our website at datetheseguys.org. If you have questions you'd like us to discuss on the podcast or marriage proposals for either of us, shoot us an email at datetheseguys@gmail.com.